coming out to the Orphan Black panel. It's going to be a really, really cool hour. We're so excited about this series. And before we bring out the two stars, here is a little peek at Orphan Black. Roll it! You see the plaything?
And the volume.
It's a very quiet show.
Are you going to describe it, please?
Yeah, so it's a theme of cloning. That's Tatiana Maslany. Maybe we'll pull it back and turn the volume up, or whatever. Cool. Yeah. We're saying in space, if you love it with the sound off, wait till you see it with sound on. Let me tell you.
Black, all new series.
Let's run it again. Can we run it again? Oh, it goes again. There we go.
Something really weird just happened at the train station. I saw a girl kill herself. She looked exactly like me.
How we walk to each other? You really have no idea, do you? They're not made. They're not. You can't think I'm dead, babe.
Your partner, he was following you. You're not bad. And I never saw that. When did I become the worst?
Orphan Black, all new series, Saturday, March 30th on Space.
What did I tell you about with the sound? Awesome. So we're bring up the two stars of the show, but as I said, this is a series that everybody at Space and Bell Media and Temple Street Productions are so excited for. I mentioned this to Tatiana, the star of the show earlier, that sometimes you get advanced copies of TV shows to check out if we're going to talk about them on Inner Space, and sometimes those are what they call rough cuts. It's not the full visual effects, not the full sound. So that's the first time I saw Orphan Black before we did some interviews for it. I saw one of those rough cuts. And because those elements are often missing from the rough cuts, you kind of have to imagine the tension sometimes. Orphan Black is the only show like that I've ever seen that even the rough cut drew me in and got its genre hooks in me in the biggest way. I had the pleasure of seeing the final cut just a few days ago, and let me tell you, this show is awesome. It's got some of the production or producers who've been behind series like Flashpoint, Being Erica, Spartacus, and films like Cube, and that talent is hugely represented on screen as well, as you're going to be able to tell as this awesome season unfolds. And in terms of on-screen talent, I'd like to introduce to you the two stars of Orphan Black, Tatiana Maslany and Jordan Gavaris.
Yeah, is that what they're called? Placards?
I think they are. Name things. How cool is this? Welcome to Toronto Comic Con.
Is this pretend water? Can we really drink it?
That's not drinkable water. No, I'm just kidding. You can drink the water. Yeah. Was I going to pour you one? Here you
Yeah, I've got water.
No, I don't
Mine's
think what I
got
was
somebody else's.
Yeah, that is my lipstick.
Okay, there you
It's a
go.
lovely shade. Enjoy the act of pouring. So I want to ask you, before we really get into the show, we got a little bit of a tease of it there. We're going to have an exclusive clip for you in a few minutes as well that nobody else has seen. But how does it feel? You put your blood, sweat, and tears into a show like this. You're both amazing actors. The roles are so juicy and great. But you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. So how great is it to have it done and finally kind of unveiling it to all these genre fans?
It's the greatest feeling. I mean, it's kind of surreal because we just finished about 2 weeks ago, so it still feels like kind of a weird dream, but seeing you guys all here, I mean, you're the audience that we're excited about. You guys understand genres so much, you're voracious fans, and that's the best, yeah.
The Comic-Con crowd is always, you guys are always the most keyed in, and I know it's tough because you haven't actually seen the show yet. But I promise you will like it, and it's something that I think detail-oriented people are really going to appreciate because nothing occurs without forethought. There's always a reason for everything. Nothing is just there, and we don't spoon feed, so you gotta keep up. But you're gonna love it.
Awesome! Are you excited? So you're here, you've already been doing some press around the show, though, and the advance buzz around it is huge. We're on Space, premiering it on Saturday, March 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that time slot in alone is testament to how excited people are about the show, because it's right after the season premiere of a little show called Doctor Who. So we're really hoping on Space to make that night, Saturday, March 30th, a really, really big night on the channel. And you're going to get this question a lot. You've probably already started to get it, but you know, how do you set up this show spoiler-free? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I guess you saw a little bit of it there, but it sort of starts out with Sarah, the lead character that I play, and she's coming back from a life that she's wanting to kind of close the door on. She's made a lot of mistakes. She's lived kind of rough on the streets, and she's kind of trying to get back on the straight and narrow, but the first thing she does is witness a woman kill herself on the train platform who looks exactly like her. So Sarah, being a little bit morally ambiguous, which is what I absolutely adore about her, because she's not a good guy, you know, she's kind of way more complicated than that, and way more dark than that, and she takes this as an opportunity to close the door on her past and kind of open the door on this new opportunity by stealing the woman's purse and assuming her identity. And that's kind of all I can say. From there, she sort of falls headfirst into this mystery of who am I, which is something we can all relate to, and I think is a theme that resonates with me nowadays for sure. And you know, the idea of identity and of multiplicity and all this stuff, and like, who are these other women? And yeah, that's kind of the spoiler-free.
I think that's how else do you? Well, we can say back to me, actually. Now we can talk about
Jordan, is Felix a good guy or a bad guy? Because I've met you a little bit in person now, and as a person, you're a terrible guy.
I'm an awful person, actually. I told Teddy that he couldn't look me in the eye the whole panel.
Oh, you did it? I've already messed that up.
I've already messed it up. Thanks a lot for that.
So tell us about Felix.
I feel like none of the characters really, you know, something kind of cool about it, and you know, it's not like cardboard cutout, oh, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, and it's the eternal war, you know, good versus evil. It's not about that. These are not necessarily good people, they're not necessarily bad people, they're sort of just human. I'm sure there's a real, actual, like, literary term, anti-hero, or the writer-creators, Graham and John, they have such an understanding and appreciation for narrative that they start to bend the rules of the sci-fi genre and bend the rules of traditional narrative, which is really cool. And so Felix is, he's Sarah's foster brother. They were fostered together in the UK by a woman named Mrs. S. And they came over to North America under somewhat, I think we can say under somewhat mysterious circumstances. Nobody really knows, but you'll find out. Felix is the yin to Sarah's yang. They're each other's everything. They're each other's confidant, really the only people that the other trusts. And as far as the kind of, Felix is the proverbial showman. He's an artist, and everything is kind of an art project. Everything's a theatrical production. He's very over the top, which is very fun to play.
You ground him like completely, like the theatricality.
Just not.
But it's like, you know, it's a brilliant character because it's so grounded in real defenses that people have, you know, that theatricality.
Well, that was in what we were saying before, is like, it's always fun to look at a person, you know, we see the hair, we see the clothes, and we judge people like that on a daily basis, what do you look like? But and Felix is, you know, there's a lot of hair and makeup and clothing, but it's so fun to explore the person that lives beneath that. And, you know, Tat does this as well with her characters. It's, we all experience the same 360 degrees of emotion, in as much as we might, it might manifest differently. We all wear different clothing, we all speak with different accents, but we're all human.
You know, cloning is such a rife theme in the world of sci-fi. This idea of the other, the doppelganger. What do you think it is about cloning as a theme that we as audiences really like? Because Orphan Black is a really cool, unique take on it. But what is it about cloning that you think we find fascinating?
I think it just it's like a physical manifestation of identity crisis. I think, you know, to me it's kind of that. You know, if I would have grown up in this circumstance, or like especially on this show, it's like, if I would have grown up in the UK versus Canada, or on the streets versus, you know, in a solid home, or with parents who were professors versus parents who were artists, you know, it's a different, we all could kind of come out differently because of it. It's just that nature-nurture question, you know what I mean? And I think that's, like I say, it's just a physical kind of manifestation of identity, of who am I? And at the same time, it's like kind of not new. It's not a new thing. I mean, cloning has been happening since the early 1900s.
Yeah,
and you know, and the whole debate about cloning people is like more, you know, it's science, it's religion, it's philosophy, it's humanity, kind of all at their most wrought. So it's a really cool, tense subject.
And that's kind of the cool thing about what Graham and John have done with this particular brand of sci-fi. They're, again, when I said they're bending genre rules, we're not set in the future. We're not set in some mystical city 100 years in the future or 1,000 years in the future where all this stuff is happening. We're set in the here and now.
Yeah.
It's present, it's rooted, and it's possible. And that's kind of the scariest part of it all. It's possible.
It's very reflective, I think, too, of like the world nowadays. You know, with Instagram and Facebook and all this stuff, we put out a certain identity into the world, a certain story about who we are.
Yeah.
And so often it's kind of not exactly, you know, it's kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm always partying and eating the greatest brunches, but like usually I'm just sitting on like the couch, like wondering what I'm going to Instagram next. So it's
Probably about brunch and partying.
probably about brunch and partying.
Yeah. I tell everybody I go to the gym.
They're always
A lot.
Are you
pictures
lying?
of you, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're lying.
Me too.
I think as genre fans, we really like to kind of pull back the curtain and learn a little bit about process. So in terms of the process of being cast for the show, what was that like? And I mean, especially for you, Jordan, I mean, which Tatiana were you auditioning opposite? Because there are many of you in Orphan Black.
Well, there were a lot of preliminary auditions, and then we finally get to the network test, which was also a chemistry test that I did with Tat. And it was one of those very rare experiences in an audition setting. When auditions, they're scary, they're terrifying.
Yeah.
You're in a position where you've got this huge group of people who are judging you on every little thing that you do.
It's like high school in a way.
Oh, please God, don't let it be high school. None, I couldn't pay me enough to do that again. But I saw Tat, and it was just kind of a moment of recognition where we were both kind of like, I really trust you, I really feel open with you, I
want to play with you.
I want to play, I want to play, like, and it is, you're just playing, in the end, like, you're just playing under these very bizarre parameters. You're playing pretend, and when you feel so comfortable with someone, when you trust someone so much that you can explore, it's magical. And you know, all the executives in the background just kind of faded away, and we played, and then I knew. I was like trying to reach for her as I'm leaving the door. I'm like, you're amazing.
Did you do it in that voice?
I did, no, that voice was
created
born.
during the shooting. The whole crew were all like,
Well, we greet each other and went, it's very nice to see you.
it's a very professional set.
We're artists, is what we are. That's really what it's really about.
That's a bit of Felix.
Well, this is a bit of Felix, yeah. So, no, but it was. If you talk, sorry, I can feel like I didn't answer the question about process.
No, it was great. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna. Well, I want to talk more about myself. So.
And did you feel that connection as well with Jordan?
Yeah, it was like one of those lovely moments where you forget you're auditioning and you're just playing. And you know, I was so grateful just to do the auditions, to play these characters, even for that hour that I got. You know, because I just loved. I can't even talk about it without kind of getting emotional about it. But I just loved the writing. I loved the characters, and to get to. I'm not gonna cry, but to get to play opposite somebody who brings you alive, that's the greatest gift you can get as an actor. And we were so lucky to get so many incredible actors on the show as day players and supporting, you know, like, just brilliant. And, you know, as far as the audition process for me, it was like I had to go in there kind of playing several characters. You know, they'd be like, okay, cool, that one's done, so now be her. Like, all right, so I pull off this thing and I put on like some item of clothing that kind of got me in there or helped me kind of start to feel that person, and then it's just a matter of playing and being a kid again and just going yes, you know, saying
I'm
yes.
a dog.
I'm a dog. Yeah, you're right.
I'm a horse.
Yeah, exactly. Which we all do as kids, and then as adults we kind of go, that's wrong and that's insanity. But as an actor, you have to go to that in the same place. You know?
So what we're really saying is that we are mentally ill people.
Yeah. And we get paid.
We get paid to be mentally ill.
You can feel free to cry, by the way. I'm Canada's Barbara Walters.
Julianne Moore. Everything she does.
This is a real treat as well. You talked about the different characters and that you play in the show. We meet, I believe it's 3 of them in the first episode.
Yeah.
And hopefully we go even further down the rabbit hole and meet even more and more as the season unfolds. But what we have to show you right now is an exclusive clip this is from episode 3 of the show. I haven't seen it, and this hasn't been shown to anybody. Michelle Duda, space supervising producer, ladies and gentlemen. Loves it when I call her out. Operating the lights. So yeah, we're gonna kill the lights, and this is an exclusive clip from episode 3 of Orphan Black.
Hey. Don't worry, you get used to it. To clone. Yeah, I'm not buying that. How many of us do you have to meet, Sarah? Can I have the briefcase, please? I want some answers first. Well, the answers are in the briefcase.
Let me guess. You're the smart one, you're the wild one.
Would you believe we're cloned? Bourbon rocks.
You got it.
So you're the scientist, the Germans on the back? Yes, well, PhD student, evolutionary developmental biology at University of Minnesota. I'm heading back there tonight. The German was sick, should I be worried about that? Well, if you give me the case, I'll know in a couple of weeks. Do you know how to shot her in the head? Okay. So, 6 months ago, Katya contacted Beth with this crazy story about her genetic identicals being hunted in Europe. Hunted. Oh, brilliant. I know. So Beth used facial recognition software to find driver's licenses in North America. 2 matches. You and Sokovich. Yes, right. But who is the original? Who's created us? Who's killing us? We need to know, but we lost our cop, so however you managed to get into her shoes, we really need you to stay there. Stay a cop to help you. To help us. Help us find out who's killing us. How? I'm not a cop. Beth's partner's gonna figure that out. Being Beth is what got me into this mess in the first place. I know, I get it, but you can't run away from her. Look, we are your biological imperative now. Okay? Katya's fingerprints will match your fingerprints. So get to Katya's fingerprint results somehow. I think that's our only option. Just answer me one thing. Anything, yes. If we're genetically identical, do you get that little patch of dry skin between our eyebrows? That's good. Try to keep your sense of humor. Beth couldn't.
That was awesome. I should mention as well that's not even the finished clip. It's got to be color corrected and a few other things. But I have so many questions. So the clones or genetic identicals are potentially being hunted. That's wild. But I want to ask you, how do you do that? Because you can tell obviously the voice, but also the mannerisms are different. So how do you, as an actor, prepare to do that? Like, what's your process?
There's loads of things I did. I mean, I'm fascinated by people, by characters, and that's always what draws me to a project. So to get to do this was an insane dream and challenge. For me, it was like tapping into, like I said, what makes us different? Why are we different from each other? How does one person's upbringing shape so much of who they are? How does their environment shape who they are? And I used music. I used music that I felt kind of resonated within the character, or was something they'd like to listen to, or was some kind of rhythm that made me move differently, made me walk through the world differently. I used dance a lot. I used animal work, and basically looked at, like, you know, how does this person see the world? What's their worldview, and how does that change how they move around in the world? So, you know, are they guarded because they've been hurt so much that they can't let themselves be hurt again? Are they so vulnerable that they put up walls of everything's good. You know what I mean? Like, what are the ways we defend ourselves? And that psychology is fascinating to me. And so that was kind of how I did this. And then just a sense of play and a sense of like finding the voices and working with the incredible writing, you know, where the characters are so alive on the page. Yeah. So yeah, I had different playlists for everybody. I had different dances for everybody. The crew was like doing the dances sometimes when I would come on as the people. Yeah, as a different character.
They were doing your dances?
Yeah, the DP, Erin Morton, would like do the one character you see. Can I say her name? Can I say who that was? Yeah, so Kasima has like a very specific kind of rave dance that she does, and the DP would do it every time I came on set.
Did it involve glow sticks or anything?
It's the idea of a glow stick. Okay. It's like her personality's holding glow sticks, but she's not. Yeah. Yeah.
Your character Felix is awesome as well. He's a really great character. What was it like watching Tatiana though make that transition between those characters and acting opposite different ones?
Sometimes challenging, sometimes very easy. Easy because Tat's incredible, and you know when she would go through the transformation and go into the hair and makeup trailer, she'd go in. You know, I'd be having a scene with Sarah, and she'd go in, and what would come out of the hair and makeup trailer was not the person that I was just talking to. So for me, mentally, it was very easy to differentiate the relationships, the dynamic, how much this person knew, whether or not I liked them, because I don't necessarily like all the clones. Felix doesn't necessarily like all the clones. So it's a little spooky actually sometimes. It's like functional schizophrenia. It's very, or I suppose it wouldn't be schizophrenia, it would be dissociative identity disorder. And it's not, but it seemed that way. It's a little spooky.
That's wild. We're going to open it up to the floor for audience questions in just a sec, so please get them ready. But I think I really loved in that scene, they're obviously talking about very heavy stuff, potentially an assassin of clones going around, but then the question about the dry skin in the middle of the forehead, because you would kind of, if I met my clone, I'd be like, oh, do you get an upset tummy sometimes? Do you get a sensitive tummy? If you met your clone in real life, what would your question be kind of along that line? Were you asking me that?
No,
is that what you were...
I'm like, why are you so annoying?
Sorry.
No, I think like, you know, we like are attracted to people who are similar to us.
Yeah.
But we're also like repulsed by people who are similar because we're like, oh, they're so talkative or they're so arrogant. But usually that's something that like you have in yourself.
Right.
So I think meeting your clone would be quite a challenge as far as like having to face yourself. I don't know what I'd say to her.
Whoa. You know, actually what I always really like doing is watching people load the dishwasher. You can tell so much about a person based on... It's true. If you're just stuffing the plates in there and you don't really care, chances are like your room's also a mess and you're probably a pretty easygoing person, but you know, if you're really
you like pre-wash them before you...
Oh, and like I'm a guy, I rinse those dishes before they go in that dishwasher.
You pre-rinse? Wow.
I pre-rinse. Wow. Doesn't everyone? Thank you. I would love to know how he loads the dishwasher, if that's a nature or a nurture thing.
Oh.
Is that something I learned in utero, or because my dad loads the same way. He's very, very particular about what goes in the
Yeah.
This is weird.
My hands are my dishwasher, so you can tell nothing.
Do you not own a dishwasher?
I don't own a dishwasher.
No, you don't. Do you ever have to entertain?
Are you looking for an invite?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Come by?
Yeah.
I would come by. I would bring, what could I bring? What would Felix bring? Large English sausage.
Jordan would bring like gourmet cinnamon buns that he before.
I love to cook, and pastries is, I would have been a pastry chef in another life.
Really? Maybe one of your clients?
Maybe. Well, I hear it's a really stressful job.
I imagine.
Yeah, like the butter is very intense. And I got to talk to those guys at Le Cordon Bleu. Is that the...
I think
Le Cordon Bleu.
I just picture the butter is very intense as like the subtitle of your autobiography.
The butter made me do it.
On that awesomely odd note, any questions from the floor at all? Yes, right up front.
For Tatiana, I'm curious how you're playing two characters, that split screen work. What's the process involved? I mean, obviously it's changed from like Parent Trap with Haley Mills to today. So how did that work for you?
It's incredible.
The question, just for those at the back, was about the process of shooting with the two different Tatianas. Sorry.
So there's a few different ways we did it. Sometimes we would have actual camera moves. So the camera would be moving in a clone shot, which is like even more advanced. And really sells the clone thing. So we had a techno dolly, which is a specific kind of camera that memorizes a camera move so that it can redo it perfectly, exactly the same every time. So I would shoot myself with a double, who was incredible. She was an amazing actor, and she would do the other lines, and she would do the exact moves that we pre-planned kind of thing. And I would do, so I would shoot one person, and then I would go off. Once we had the take memorized, she would leave, and I would just do it with an earbud. So I was talking to X over here, then X that moved there, and then X that moved there, you know, and trying to get the eye lines perfectly. And then I would go away once we had a perfect take of that, change into the other character, which took like an hour, you know, and then come back and we would use the same memorized techno dolly move, but I would be in the other position, now with myself responding to what I'd just done. So it's bleh, like mind.
And on the hour in between, I would be watching episodes of Fringe. I know, but show when it ended.
Yeah, but it's like insane. It's a really technical thing, and for me as an actor, I like to be quite open, and you know, the whole thing is listening to the other person, using the other person for everything you do. So to not have that person, I really had to use my imagination, and like in those clone shots, it was, you know, a lock-off shot. I would shoot this, and then we would change me, and then I'd shoot this. And the camera just didn't move, so it just stayed in one place. It's a fascinating, insane process, and takes so much time. But yeah.
So worth it.
Yeah, it looks so cool. It just, yeah.
Obviously, you're a fan of genre, of Fringe and John Noble, so you know. You're my people. Orphan Black is a genre show. It's got all these other really interesting elements as well. But is it gratifying to be part of a genre show as a consumer of the genre?
It's also gratifying because it's not camp sci-fi, which is fun. It has a place, but you know, all the sci-fi shows that I really like, Battlestar, Fringe, Buffy, yeah.
You're with your tribe.
I'm with my tribe right now.
Yeah.
They generally will reflect a movement at the times. They reflect a sociological movement, people, current teenage fears. I mean, in Buffy, they're just so much more relatable than I think sometimes than the really camp stuff. And that's what I love most about the show, is that the clones, they're the backdrop by which we're telling a really human story.
Cool. Other questions from the floor? Hey, how's it going?
Hey. You both have English accents in the show. What was your process to come up with them, and where did you base that from?
Well, we determined that they were both working class, and London, I think they're estuary accents, so it means along the river, so it's kind of it's South London.
Is it
Brixton?
Brixton.
Oh, Brixton, but I think they fostered there?
Yeah, they were fostered there. Well, yeah, they're from, I'm sure they were born and raised temporarily in different areas before they met together in Brixton.
Yeah, so for me it was like a working class London accent. Not as far as Cockney, but more so kind of like a contemporary sound. And I have a lot of friends from over there, so I knew that sound. I like a lot of musicians from there, the Streets, Dizzy Rascal, all these people who have that kind of thing. And we had an amazing dialect coach who was there every day and was keeping tabs on all of the dialects, and yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than when you're kind of pulled out of the illusion is shattered because the person can't maintain the accent or if it's inconsistent. And so then, you know, American Canadian actors trying to do UK dialects sometimes goes terribly wrong. And
it did.
And it did go. It went.
That's what 8 years for.
This is certain mornings. But I didn't actually know what accent I was doing during the audition. I came in with a northern accent because my only experience with English accents really was like Coronation Street. And my mom had Gavaris Street on, and I was like, oh, I guess that kind of is what. But you know, still working class. And then they said, no, it's closer to London. And so I kind of retooled it, and but also found a way to sort of add this theatrical affectation, which just works. Whereas like Sarah is. She's like down in her chest, and
she's lower than that.
She's a little bit lower on her chest. And Felix is like, you know, much more up here. I always say my lower back at the end of the nights would be so sore because he sort of lives in his upper back muscles, you know, he's always craned up sort of irreverently, and it was so a little painful. My back would be tweaked, but I'm doing yoga, trying to like stretch. That's not funny.
Hot yoga or cold yoga?
Is there cold yoga? Regular yoga, regular intermediate.
Cold yoga would be really bad for you.
Cold yoga would be horrible. Yeah. Like rip something.
Any more questions, preferably about yoga, sir?
I actually worked in the office next to the soundstage that you guys were in.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no. I was, and I would notice like you guys would be loading in to do a shoot like 6 o'clock on a Friday.
Do you mean PM or AM? Because it was sometimes it was.
I never caught you guys in the morning. It was always I always saw the trucks moving in the evening.
Yeah.
Very long days.
Why were you starting a shoot at 6 o'clock in the evening on a Friday?
Because we would start like 6 a.m. on a Monday and then keep pushing, because the days were so long, there was so much to get done. You know, like with these clone scenes that would take 10 hours to shoot, it just bumped our day later and later. So by Friday, we were into nights, even though we were in studio and we could have just been shooting, you know, anytime. It's just because of the schedule and keep having to push it. It's just an insane show, and we had so little time to shoot it, so we had to like cram so much in our days. Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah.
So in the midst of those, you know, wildly packed days, did you have a favorite moment at all? You finished rapping at the end of February, or you finished the season at the end. You finished rapping at the end of February.
I finished my rap career at the end of February.
I'm just forgetting mine. I go on tour July 1st.
Oh, good.
Under the moniker, well, I'm working on the moniker.
Reveal it next year, maybe.
Big reveal.
But throughout those, you know, busy and packed days, did you have a favorite moment on or off camera in shooting season 1? Other than every moment together.
Other than every moment together.
Honestly, I can't, it's such a blur of like joy. I just loved working on it, like day 1 to day end of days. It was just like, it was the greatest treat. I can't say enough how much I loved it. I don't necessarily have a favorite moment. I think introducing a new clone was exciting.
Oh, every time you got to do that.
Anytime I would bring out someone new, it was like, that was terrifying and exciting. And then to feel a new person, that was
There are like, it's tough because there are so many moments that satisfy you as an actor, like when you really have to dig down deep into the well, or you're doing something that just thrashes you emotionally for like the next week.
Yeah.
But like favorite, I actually really love, I wasn't on nearly as much as this poor soul. But super late night shoots where we'd start at like, you know, 6 o'clock or something. It always felt to me like a pajama party. Yeah. You know, in school, like you're staying up late on a school night and you're not supposed to be, and it's really exciting, and like you eat really bad food just because you can, and although she made fun of me because I did. What?
Eat a piece of pizza.
I did eat a piece of, I did that one night. I ate pizza one night. I was sick for 3 days. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it was just fun. It felt like, you know, we were doing something. It felt like they weren't making a television show or a movie anywhere else in the world. We were the only one that was, it just felt special. Just felt really special in my soul.
For the record, though, was the food good on set? Good food?
Food is delicious.
More questions from the board. Oh, I see, who's that strange gentleman right there? AJ? Oh, it's AJ Fry from Inner Space! Hello, AJ Fry!
Get him! Tackle.
Tatiana, we actually both used to do Canadian improv games.
Whoa, yeah! Did anybody else do CIGs, Canadian Improv Games?
I like trying to have the improv team and didn't make it.
So I know with comedies, typically you get to do a lot of improv, but with a sci-fi show like this, where the script is very important,
Yeah.
the convoluted, you know, plot forward that's so complex.
Yeah.
Do you get to improvise at all with all these different characters that you're portraying?
Any improvs, if I did like a clone scene and I wanted to do something, you know, I would have to pre-plan it, which is kind of counterintuitive to improv, but for me it was more so yeah, we didn't get to improvise a lot, but there were times, like even in our audition, we went way off book.
So
like,
off the rails.
Yeah, we were just so excited to be like, whoa, you're awesome. So we just like played, you know. For me, the improv probably happened more so between takes to kind of maintain the character. I spoke in the character's voice all day if I was playing that character, and then when I shifted, I was the new, you know what I mean? So the improv happened between takes more so. And in like finding new mannerisms and finding new things. So that's where it played in. Yeah. Yeah.
Good question. You having a good day, buddy? Yeah. Good? Cool. There's a question over here. Hello. Hi, Cynthia. Or two Cynthias. What's your question, Cynthia Amston?
My question is, what is the most number of clones you played in one scene, Tatiana?
Most number of clones you played in one scene?
How long did it take to switch from one to the next?
So it took about an hour and a half, usually, to switch between clones for hair, makeup, wardrobe, you know, mental break kind of thing. And then the most clones we see in a scene, I think, are 3, which was a very long day.
And that's in the same shot. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. And, oh, was it 3? Yeah, 3. Yeah, there's a few of those. Yeah.
Let's go to Colleen, and then we'll go to you.
I thought I saw an Ontario driver's license in this, set in Toronto or in Ontario?
Well,
Is it even partly?
It's not like it pretends to be any, like we show a lot of Toronto, but it's not, it's sort of its own city.
it's like Gotham.
Point where they didn't say it was Toronto for quite a while, but
Yeah.
they went to Timmy's?
Yeah, so we talk about I think we reference like Markham and Scarborough, but it's kind of not like we're like, I'm gonna go to the CN Tower. Like we're not, it's not super, you know, it's kind of its own world. It's its own city.
And now we don't have Canadian money either, do we?
No, I don't think so.
No, so we're really trying to kind of, and you know, to the show's testament, maybe not necessarily Toronto, but not the United States either, which is kind of cool. But you just kind of accept it.
Is it perhaps a city in our minds?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, probably terribly wrong. Oh yeah, you have your hand up there. Yeah.
My sister just asked me if you ever feel left out because you don't get to go watch Friends with your co-stars because you're playing so many roles that you're in basically every scene.
Yeah, I had one day off the entire shoot, which was crazy. So yeah, I didn't have a life outside of Orphan Black. So the whole thing feels like a total dream. I mean, I don't have any context for it because it was my whole life, you know. I felt left out, well, no. I mean, I got to work with everybody. And I was pretty spoiled. You know what I mean? I got to work with insane actors and on incredible characters. But yeah, sometimes I would like, can I just sit down and watch like Downton Abbey right now, please? Yeah.
Jordan, did you make it part of your job to update Tatiana in terms of the goings-on in the world?
Well, Fringe ended pretty fast, and like I would have had to start from the beginning, and like they were just closing up their 5th season. I think we started to talk about Breaking Bad though, because I got into that too, pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I told her like a little bit. I'm pretty sure that like something happened. I'm sure something happened. Yeah.
You told me what you were cooking a lot.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
what you kept me
I was like, so I brought that.
Like, so last night I made this. I didn't invite you, but I made this amazing.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. I didn't invite her because I was worried that she'd feel obligated to come, and I knew she was tired.
Exhausted. Yeah.
And so I didn't, but I can see in retrospect how it looked really mean.
Well, I actually heard that you love to cook, Jordan. So if you had Tatiana over for a dinner party, what would you make her? Oh boy, I know.
She really likes. She's all about.
You gave me like a box of the most insane chocolate.
Oh yeah. Well, see, I'm leaning toward desserts because like anytime I looked at her, she was always like she had a cake in one hand and like chocolate.
How can I put both in my mouth at the same time?
I know what desserts I would feed her. I do a chocolate pie. I'd probably do chocolate pie.
Chocolate pie?
Chocolate. I think I'd probably do like steak or something.
Oh yeah.
I'd do like a nice filet mignon. Yeah, I would do that, and I'd wrap it in bacon. You eat bacon, don't you?
Yeah.
I'd wrap it in bacon. I'm really sorry to any vegetarians. I was vegan for a year, so I can say that, right?
You're fine.
I'm fine.
Just have time for one more audience question, so it's got to be a really awesome question. Oh, will you make it two? Because both of you guys have had your hands up for a really long time. Can we do two? We'll do two quick ones. So you first, Ella, and then Kel will go to you.
I'm going to stand because my voice is dying.
Oh, please stand.
Project it. You go from food to philosophy. When you were talking about what appeals us about the idea of cloning, what I thought it was the idea of immortality, and yet you have these clones that are, vulnerable and at risk. And I thought about the extra tension that might have. Does that resonate at all with what you've experienced making the show so far?
That's fascinating. I never would have even thought of that. Yeah, I guess there is this idea of you can kind of live forever or something, or your legacy can live forever. God, I never would have thought of that. I think that's a really interesting point. Yeah, as far as human vulnerability goes, and God, yeah, this idea of something coming after them, right? That's killing them off. God, you've stumped me completely. That's such a brilliant question. Yeah.
Did you think about that at all, Jordan? About that idea at all?
Yes. I thought of, there was so many times I had that thought. I'm like, man, wow, philosophy. Because it's, you know what it is? It's because that's such a, Tat probably never thought about it because she's looking at the clones as a collective. She's looking at them like, okay, I'm thinking it's this person, this person, this person. So it's a very like, I don't want to use the word selfish, but that would be like a selfish thought that one person would have, and the idea of I can live forever, it's very I can live forever, whereas she's always coming at it from what do all of these women mean to me? So maybe that would be the...
And I think, yeah, and I think immortality, I don't think they ever see it from that point of view, some of them. I don't think all of them do. There might be a couple, but mostly they're very human and very vulnerable. And there's not kind of a sense of control that they have over this thing that's so much bigger than them. So they're more at the mercy of something else than they are in control of and in volition of their own lives, kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a really good question.
Yeah, thank you. Last audience question to Kel Harker.
Hi.
Hey.
One kind of goes with the last question, but what do you think is the philosophical value of the show? I guess how can people better their lives by watching it?
The question was, how could people better their lives by watching?
I think it speaks a lot of empathy and a lot of humanity. That's what drew me so much to the character of Sarah, is that she is this lost soul. She's struggling. She's a survivor. She's fighting with every weapon she has to survive and to. And even though her whole heart is in her daughter, who she abandoned about 7 years ago, or not 7 years ago, who is 7 years old. She abandoned about a year ago. So she's trying to come back. She's trying to be a mother. She's completely ill-equipped to be so. She's never had a stable home. She's never understood what a family is. She's never had that unconditional love and support, except from Felix. But even then, she's so guarded. She's so fragile, and yet she puts out this really tough exterior. And as she gets to know this woman whose life she kind of takes over, this other woman, Beth, she takes over her life. And the more she gets to know this other woman, the more she comes closer to herself because she empathizes with this other woman. She sees her life initially as rosy and perfect and an opportunity to be, to be everything I want to be. But really, Beth was struggling and was suffering and has killed herself. And so the more Sarah kind of gets to know Beth and step in her shoes, the more empathy she feels and the closer she comes to herself. So for me, it's about empathy and it's about humanity and it's about sisterhood, it's about strong female characters, it's about motherhood and daughterhood and that struggle. And so for me, that's what is really important about it.
Thank you.
So Saturday, March 30th, the first episode, 9 p.m. Eastern, right after Doctor Who. What do you hope that the audience, as soon as that first episode ends, what do you hope their first thought is after it ends?
Whoa, cool.
I always say this, if we're telling you now there are clones, it's a clone show, and all this stuff is happening, and we're revealing all of this stuff in the first episode, where does the show go? And that's the cool part. That's, I think, what's going to shock everybody.
It's unrelentingly
Like a runaway train.
Never coming back.
Never coming back. Right off its tracks. And it's a train wreck.
Thanks so much for being here, guys. You're going to be mobbed at conventions going forward. The first episode is so killer. We're all so excited. Saturday, March 30th at 9 p.m. after Doctor Who. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.